I have no son.
Who's your daddy?
I don't remember that line in this episode.
You just didn't pay close enough attention, Dave. It was there. It was a very subtle delivery from Mr. Ironside.
Oh, okay. Are you sure we watched the same version, or did you watch the Axel Braun version?
I don't know. I've been up since 3:45. Who knows what?
There it is. Anyways, what's happening, guys? Welcome to DC Fan-imated. I'm, of course, Dave the Film Junkie. With me, as always, Mr. Scott McClellan. How's it going?
It's going pretty well. I do want to take a moment. It's tangentially Superman related.
Good.
But we've got a little bit more time of the day, so I want to wish a happy 92nd birthday to Mr. John Williams.
That's right.
John Williams. That is God. That man.
It was funny because when I saw like a thing pop up, I was like, I immediately went, "Oh no, John Williams died!" You know, it's like that was the first thought because I saw like the big, like one of the publications posted like one of their thumbnails or pictures or something like that, and I just saw 92, and I was like, and then I went, "Oh, okay, he just turned 92." I was like, "Oh man," but yeah, somebody else had a birthday too, right? Did I not see Mr. Bob Finger?
Bill Finger.
Bill Finger, Bob. I'm thinking of Bob. I just combined Bob King.
Yeah, because he's born on is it February 2nd his birthday?
Is that what it is? I thought I saw something today. I thought I retweeted.
Is it today?
I don't know.
I can't remember when Bill Finger's birthday is.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I saw it. Yeah, I saw it a couple times. So I guess it was.
It was. Wait a minute. Hold on. What is today?
Yeah, today is the 9th or the 8th.
Yeah, today's his birthday.
Yeah, there you go. So 2 birthdays right there we're celebrating. So thank you to both of those guys. One is just a legendary composer that's composed some of the greatest iconic music ever, including Superman. And then, of course, there's no Batman without Mr. Finger.
Oh, no, there is absolutely no Batman without Bill Finger.
No. So. Yeah, I know. Oh, God. We can go down that rabbit hole again. But anyways, good to see you, Jason. Ahoy, ahoy. Always great to see you, buddy. But yes, guys, we are talking about Father's Day. It's not Father's Day. Father's Day is not for another couple of months, but yeah, that's right. We're talking about Father's Day, and you know what? It's fitting. I mean, I remember a little bit about this episode.
Same thing. It's like all I knew once. I mean, one from the title, I knew nothing.
Yeah.
Then once I read a synopsis, I was like, oh yeah, I remember that episode when Kaliback wants to beat out Superman to prove something to Darkseid, and that I didn't even remember the Kents came to town. No,
that's the part that I remembered. Actually, I just remembered the later on when his dad gets in underneath some rubble that happens. So that was pretty much there was little bits of Darkseid, yeah, but then there was for some reason that stood out when I rewatched this episode.
As I was watching the episode, I remembered that. At the end, oh wait a minute! This is when Superman and Darkseid actually meet for the first time.
Yeah, we get it's pretty interesting. We'll get to that, but yeah, it was cool. I was like, yeah, that's right. Did you come face to face? And man, there's a threat that Darkseid gives. That's for sure. Nice little threat.
Absolutely. Do you want to start off by mentioning this episode is co-written by Mark Evanier, who we mentioned in Tools of the Trade, because he was Jack Kirby's assistant. So he wrote the episode that introduced the new gods in the fourth world to the Superman the Animated Series, and he co-writes the very next episode where they show up. So I thought that was really interesting that he continues to be when they do a fourth world episode, Mark is the one writing and or co-writing it. So I thought that was very interesting to take a note of.
That's good. That's good. And you're pixelating. Oh, so you got to head on out. Yeah. Damn it. But that's cool. They're keeping it consistent. When you need a fourth world episode, you definitely call him up. So that's cool. I forgot that we mentioned that in the first time. I think that was part of the clip that I edited out for the episode as well. So anyways, so that's cool. Yeah. So he's basically the man they call when it comes to fourth world stuff. That's cool.
That is really cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
And especially when the episode starts in that great space shot right before we see Apocalypse. And there's just all that Kirby crackle in in space, and I'm just going, yeah, this is a Kirby episode because there's the crackle right there. I mean, it's just a black in the blackness of space,
Yeah.
and they made it crackle, and I'm just like, damn, I love
Genius. Genius. And then, Shirley Walker had some fun with this episode, didn't she?
This score was weird, man. Like,
it starts off a little tribal at first, and then it just then it just gets like kind of rocking, and just, man, I was like, wow.
I actually had to I stayed to watch the credits because I was like, okay, who actually wrote the music for this episode? Because this is a show where we can't consistently expect it to be Shirley Walker every episode. But no, it was Shirley for this episode. And I was like, dang, girl, you were trying something there, and it was weird.
Well, I mean, it's an episode that has to do, Darkseid's return, and maybe at the time they're like, well, I mean, obviously he's gonna be in the future, so we gotta go all in on this episode a little bit. We're bringing in what's his name again to write it? What was his name?
Mark Evanier.
Mark, yeah. So it's like, might as well just up the score, have a little fun with it, and she definitely did.
Oh yeah, she did. Well, also we saw a brief glimpse of Apocalypse at the end of Tools of the Trade when Mannheim follows Kanto through the boom tube. But it's really interesting to realize that in the history of the show, we get like our very first introduction to even more fourth world characters. Like there are two major characters in this episode who this is their first appearance because they didn't show up in Tools of the Trade. Because the only people we saw in Tools of the Trade were Kanto and then Darkseid at the very end. I don't even think we saw Parademons at the end of Tools of the Trade.
No, I don't think we did. But I like how, because we get introduced to Thead in this episode, which of course, Thead, that little gaslighting piece of shit.
Oh, he is a huge bag piece of crap. I mean,
God. That's who he is, though. That's who he is.
It is. But there's just something. I mean, because they draw him exactly the way Kirby drew him in the comics. And there's just something about him, like, he's got like the weird, like, monk robe hood thing, like some sort of medieval, like, conciliary, but he's like all skinny and he's got the eyes and he's just got all the machinations, and it's just like, piece of shit.
Yes, we hate you, Thead. We hate you. And he's looking, obviously using the technology, and he sends like his little, what does he call it? Like a scream machine or something like that. What do you call it?
It was something like that. Something like that, because that's definitely the kind of thing that Kirby would come up with some really cool designs and some kind of stupid names.
He called it a scream machine. I wrote it on my notes. So it's like, scream machine. Okay.
That also fits Thead because he is a sadist.
Yeah. So it fits the character. And so basically it's just like it's like a drone, that looks like a smaller, Apocalypse essentially. But and then of course, we get Lois, jogging in the park, not jogging in her normal outfit that she is. She's
not in the skirt and heels. No,
of course not. No, she's in her workout attire, which is cool. And then of course, I mean, there's a lot of conveniences when it comes to this episode with these with this world coming into this world, and then of course, Lois is there at the park, so naturally she's like gonna have to be involved in what's happening here. Obviously, this the scream machine is starting to just like wreak some havoc, and then of course she calls the planet and is like, all right, she's on the phone saying this is happening, this is happening, this is happening. And I love it how like when Jimmy and Clark show up at the planet, they start just talking about their plans, and then of course Clark just hears the phone call, so then he just automatically is just out of there, books it.
I also forgot that since the episode is called Father's Day, it's not metaphorical. Like, it literally is going to be like Father's Day. Like, totally didn't. I thought it was just gonna be a cute little title. I didn't know they were gonna be that literal with it. Not gonna lie.
Seriously, I didn't either until like we hear at the So so then of course that's happening, and then of course Lois is hiding behind a tree, but then this the scream machine. Weird calling it that.
You can't say that with straight face, can you?
It's hard to do that. So grabs her, and then of course Superman comes in, and then does his thing where he saves the day, and basically Darkseid then shows up behind Assad as they're watching and seeing all the stuff that's happening, and then they just, it has a self-destruct mode because why not?
I mean, but also I love it how like Desaad is just this conniving little twit that he's me like, oh master, no, I was just using this to test his limitations so I could build my ultimate weapon. And Darkseid completely calls him out on his shit. And
It's like,
he's
yeah,
like, that
bullshit.
was your ultimate weapon, and it failed miserably.
Oh, I'm so glad that he did, because it's like, really, you're gonna say that? Whatever, dude, whatever. And that's exactly what.
That's the cool thing about
Yeah,
Darkseid as a
he sees through the
god.
BS.
He sees through the BS. It's like he knows that Desaad is this sniveling little twat, and he's not gonna let him. He's not he's not convinced. He's not manipulated. He's like, bullshit.
Yeah,
You fucked up royally.
big time.
Stop it.
Right, and then of course we get introduced to Kaliback right here.
Kaliback, oh, fun character. Oh, so voices. We got to talk voices because both Desaad and Kaliback are notable names.
Okay.
Did either of them click for you?
Well, Kaliback did sound familiar.
He should. He should.
Desaad, not really.
Desaad, okay. Desaad is someone that I would recognize. I would not expect you to recognize him. I'm just being honest. Just the way it is. Okay, but you got any guesses on who Kaliback was?
No.
Okay. That's who actually I remember. I did not remember who Desaad was, but I always remembered who Kaliback was. Kaliback is Michael Dorne.
Worf?
Yes.
That's why it sounded familiar. Jesus. Okay, now okay, that does make sense. Who's Desaad?
Desaad is Robert Morse.
Robert Morse. That doesn't really sound familiar.
He was he was a Broadway actor. He did some TV. Did you ever watch Mad Men?
No, not really.
Oh, okay. Okay. That was one of his more recent roles. He was the patriarch of the advertising company.
Okay. I didn't really watch it.
Yeah. On Broadway, he's also well known because he originated the leading role in How to Succeed in Business Without Really Trying.
Okay.
So he has a very distinctive face, but he sometimes would play, though, when he was younger, he would kind of play some of those goofball roles that made you think of like Jerry Lewis.
What's his name again?
Robert Morse.
Robert Morse. Let's see if I. Yeah, he looks familiar.
Yeah.
It's like he's got one of those faces where it's like familiar. Okay. Yeah, he has a familiar face. I've probably seen him and stuff, but Michael Dorne.
Yeah.
That just makes sense now, because I'm like, this voice sounds familiar, but maybe it sounds like someone's just doing a voice, because I can't even do the voice. But that's total. I mean, if you obviously everybody knows who Worf is if you're a Star Trek fan, and it's like you hear that voice, you just know that voice.
But I knew you weren't that big into Star Trek, so I was wondering.
Yeah.
I was impressed that when I said the name, you knew who I was talking about. I'm like, good on you.
I think it's just all the recent stuff with the Picard and all those guys coming back and seeing the names everywhere. And when it came to watching Star Trek, I watched Next Generation more than any of the other versions.
Well, I mean, that was our Star Trek.
Yes, it was.
But then he came back for Deep Space Nine, so that was
That's right.
Yeah. He was also, and he was no stranger to voice work, because like almost every other Star Trek actor, he was in Gargoyles.
That's right. Yeah, I think we talked about that maybe on a Vodka stream or something.
I think we did, because he was cold. He was Cold Steel. That was the name of his character on. Yeah, he was a cyborg gargoyle. It was a cool character. So I always remembered that he was the voice of Kaliback, because, dude, they just nailed the voice casting for the Fourth World. Because I mean, we had Michael York as Canto, Michael Ironside as there's a lot of Michaels. I just realized this. Michael York is Canto, Michael Ironside is Darkseid, Michael Dorne is Kaliback.
A lot of Michaels with this.
A lot of Michaels.
And then of course we have Mr. Bruno. I love how like he's still like in his
He's
suit.
still there.
Yeah.
I totally forgot that
Yeah.
Mannheim was going to show up again. It's like, dude, thanks for the continuity.
I know, right? Kept the continuity, kept the suit, even though he's on Apocalypse. I guess he's okay. He's able to groom and be okay. There's no tears in the sleeves like they like to do in the animated series or anything like that. But then, of course, he's like, he wants to go back to Earth too. Give me a chance and then get the inner game back together and blah blah blah. And Darkseid's like, no, and then he just zaps him down into the shit to start
I know.
working.
Okay, so that's an important thing to remember. Is that, I'm sure a lot of people who maybe are newer fans would be watching this and they're wondering, like, what the hell's going on with those Omega beams? You got to understand in the comics, whenever Darkseid used his Omega beams, they weren't just really powerful lasers. Like with the Omega effect, he could make his Omega beams do different things.
Yeah.
So transporting people like you would see him do with Mannheim, that is something that he would do. I mean, you got to remember that, like, Final Crisis, that's what he does to Batman. He sends him back in time, when we all thought Batman died at the end of that. Yeah. So, that's just a heads up about why people are getting zapped and they're not Lois Lane skeleton like in Zack Snyder's Justice League.
Very true. Oh, poor Lois. But yeah, so he gets zapped down there, and then of course this is where we get Thead in gaslighting Kaliback, because obviously I always feel like I'm saying his name wrong.
Kaliback. You are saying it a little funky.
A little funky.
It's not Cali, it's
Cali.
Kaliback.
Sorry.
Kaliback, yes.
Kaliback.
You've been in California too long, man.
Dude, I know, right? But it was funny because even last night when I was talking about all the Disney stuff, I couldn't say Moana right at first. I was like, Moana? And I was just like, I'm saying that wrong, huh? And then it finally clicked. I was like, it's Moana, dummy. Come on. It was funny. But Kaliback.
This is going to be a long night, isn't it? Okay.
Kaliback.
There we go.
Yes. No, but obviously he wants to prove to his father, that he could destroy Superman. And Thead just totally uses that to manipulate him to go to Earth. And then I look how he even says, he's like, you don't mention me. He's just like, don't mention me about it. This will be your thing and blah blah blah. Because it's like, yeah, he doesn't want to be blamed or anything for it.
Okay, here's a question I want to go ahead and ask you.
Okay.
What did you, because they never came out and stated it. So, what did you think Desaad's motivation was for gaslighting Kaliback?
It's a good question. I didn't really think about that because, what would why would he want to do that? What would be his motivation? Because we start off and his scream machine doesn't work. It doesn't end up defeating Superman. So then maybe there's just like some kind of, I don't know, maybe he just doesn't like him, or maybe there's some kind of thing where, I don't know, there's some kind of, I don't know, like maybe there's, just because he's his son, he doesn't want him there because he maybe has some power over Desaad and he doesn't like that because he's like Darkseid's son, so there's like a power ranking thing, maybe.
See, that's, I was thinking kind of like Apocalypse has always been depicted like kind of like that Game of Thrones environment, where like everyone is just like trying to like get over someone else to be like Darkseid's number one, be his favorite. I just felt like personally, it's like Desaad fucked up, and he just needed someone to fuck up worse than he did. And so he's like, and he saw how easy he could manipulate Kaliback, and he was like, well, this will take the attention off of me.
Yeah.
If he completely disregards, because Darkseid says, do nothing.
Yeah.
It's almost like Darkseid says, when the time is right, I'll do something about it.
Exactly.
And Kaliback, of course, being, he looks old. You can just see that he's like that young son that's like, I guess I'm to prove. Like, come on, Daddy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
exactly.
he just thinks that he can go and beat up on the guy in the blue tights, and it's
Yeah.
yeah.
He's got confidence, that's for sure. And then, of course, we get Jonathan and Martha showing up at the Daily Planet, and I like how they're just talking about buying a computer so they can surf the net. And so, of course, they do that whole like obviously Jonathan acting like that old guy where it's like talking about that so I could surf the net, and he says it like that, which was that was a big time phrase when the internet was kicking in the gear for sure. Surf the net. And
I mean, there was a Sandra Bullock movie, The Net.
yeah, there was. God, I haven't seen that movie in forever.
It's I need to go back and
Decent.
watch that movie.
Yeah,
It
might have
was
been
fun.
decent, but it's probably going to be interesting because what was I watching I think on Sunday. Speaking of like old 90s movies that have to do with like technology, I watched Lawnmower Man.
Oh God. With
With all
Matt
the
River,
yeah,
yes.
with all the Apple Pro glasses thing that is happening right now, and then you see Lawnmower Man that deals with like virtual reality. I mean, it's typical 90s, but man, the stuff in there, I mean, the VFX were shit, but you enjoy it. You enjoy it for what it is, and still a great movie, but yeah, so they're talking about that, and then of course they meet Lois for the first time, and I like how they just embarrass Clark right away because that's just what happens. Oh yeah, he talks about you
But
all
you
the
all
time.
the time.
Like,
You're practically family.
if this was My Adventures with Superman, his cheeks would have got all rosy,
Mhm.
like he yeah.
Oh no, and his eyes would have been
Yeah.
like spirals, and yeah,
Exactly. So she, I mean, basically says like, yeah, you're basically part of the family. So then they're gonna go to lunch. But then again, there was like Jonathan having that little quip of like because he had to send something down to the editor, and it's like, well, I could have did that for you, save you some steps. But then of course she mentions like the technology thing, Jonathan. So
and that's weird because it has absolutely nothing to do with anything that happens in this episode.
yeah.
It's a little non sequitur of a.
Yeah, I
It's
think
a
they just
little.
wanted to show that Jonathan was like the old crotchety dude, and I do things like this and kind of thing, just to do the dad thing, I guess. I don't know.
I guess it just felt when you look at like the scope of the episode, it
Mm.
just seemed to be like it's not like it fit thematically into anything that happens in this episode.
No, it's not like technology saves Jonathan at the end or something like that.
No.
Yeah, it's really meaningless. But so they're gonna go to lunch, and then of course Perry, a pissed off Perry. When is he not? When is he
Well,
not?
even Lois even said that. No, he always sounds like that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's like we're so they have to go ahead and go to lunch, and then of course it's convenient that when Kaliback just shows up right at that restaurant. Of course.
Of
I
course.
mean,
I know. By the way, I got to ask you: did you notice the maitre d at the restaurant? Did his design look a little familiar?
no, I didn't. I can't put I didn't pay attention.
Okay, because I was even trying to listen to the voice to see if they actually got John Zunza to voice this guy because he looks exactly like Francis from The Laughing Fish.
Oh, fuck, I didn't even pay attention to that. No.
Yeah, like the
Hadn't-
fir- the first
Yeah.
the first copyright guy who like
Uh-huh.
Joker tries to out like, oh, it's the Joker's goons sprayed some stuff
Yeah.
on me. Get
Was
this man to a hospital.
and it wasn't him, right? Yeah.
No, that was the other. No, that wasn't because it was his cat comes in with like
Yeah.
the fish in his
Yes.
mouth. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So it's just like his character
didn't
design
even
for the
notice
Maitre
that.
D looked completely like Francis from the Laughing Fish.
Oh, that's funny. That's funny. But then of course, Caliback just starts effing the place up. And then Jonathan, he it's funny because both the parents got to realize that you're a human being parents to a superhero that nobody knows his secret identity. But it adds to the episode a little bit. But
That's not a
Jonathan,
lot. It was a little.
yeah,
That's my criticism of this episode is
yeah,
that the Martha and Jonathan stuff
yeah,
just seemed superfluous because it seems like because Jonathan kind of acts like an idiot.
yeah.
Somebody ought to give him a tongue to. Really, Jonathan?
What are
Like
you gonna do?
what are you going to do? I mean, the only thing I will say that having Martha and Jonathan there is that it gives you a a foil how Darkseid treats his son versus how
Yeah.
Jonathan and Martha treat their son. It, and the episode never like points it out. It's just kind of there, which I'm not going to complain. I would prefer it just be like, here's the comparison without us having to point our fingers at it. But it also doesn't feel like it really plays that much into the episode.
Mm.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I felt like the writing of this part made Jonathan seem like an idiot. And
Yeah.
like, Jonathan, you wouldn't try to take on the big giant hulking alien who just came smashing in through the restaurant.
Yeah, it was kind of, especially what he says. Yeah, they could have did a better job of putting Jonathan in a situation where Superman had to rescue him, besides just like saying that and standing there, and then the ceiling starts crumbling down, and then he gets he falls under the rubble a little bit. But yeah, they could have done a better job in putting him in some kind of situation, or Kaliback just like grabbed him or something like that. Yeah, they could have done something better, but
Because Jonathan gets trapped underneath the rubble.
yeah.
Superman shows up, and then the episode from then on out until about the very end just becomes like a smackdown. Like,
Yeah, it really does.
I mean, it kind of reminds me of there was an episode. It's almost like Monkey Fun, where we got to the point where we had to just stop discussing the episode because what we were going to do, like, go beat through, Superman fighting a giant ape.
Yeah,
because
punches him with a right hook and a left hook.
Right, because from this point on, it's just Superman and Kaliback beating the shit out of each other for the remainder of the episode, except for with some interesting things like, Kaliback is knocked unconscious in the subway, and
electrocuted
somehow Desaad is watching this whole thing. Like, where's your camera? Like, how are you watching this?
It's that apocalypse technology, man.
It's magic. It really is.
It's better internet. They're surfing the net. Oh,
they are surfing the net. And watching this. And of course, that's when Darkseid sees Kaliback. He defied his orders, and Darkseid basically like, nah, fuck him.
Yeah, he says, I have no son.
I have no son. He's like, he's your son. That is merely a technicality of his birth. I'm like, oh, you want to talk about a coal oil? That is like one of those.
Imagine if he heard that.
Oh, I know, right? It's merely a technicality of his birth. And as far as destiny is concerned, I have no son. And like, oh god, that's not winning you any Father of the Year awards.
No.
And then of course, okay, I have to laugh at this. When Kaliback and Superman holding each other, and the subway train's coming right at them, and Superman goes, there's people on the train, and all I could think about, because this is an old Squadcast media joke from our Superman 4 review, but all I can think about is Christopher Reeve and Superman 4 going, "No, dear God, the people,
the people,
the people." When he's talking to Nuclear Man.
Yeah. Oh God, I forgot about. I was like, "Where are you going with this?" And when you said that, I went, "Oh yeah, that'll send a chill up your spine."
I know, right?
The
people.
Yeah, that's funny. Jesus Christ. Then of course he gets electrocuted by the rail. Yes. And then but of course that's not going to keep him down for sure. And then Superman, of course, is still trying to get to his dad. And then of course there's more of the street fight that happens. And then Martha goes, "Clark!" And Lois is like, "Clark? Where?" And it's like, oopsies. Remember, hello. But I mean, she's being motherly. But then at the same time, she starts like when Superman's getting his ass kicked, she starts like going to like, "I gotta help him." Like, and then luckily Lois is like, "No, what are you doing?"
No, that not gonna do much. That's really not gonna work out for you.
See, that one I can more understand, because a mom is watching her baby get his ass kicked. I can understand that more than Jonathan going, "He should get a right hook to the chin," or something like that.
Somebody needs to give him a whooping.
There you go. Yeah. I mean, that was pretty dumb. This one made more sense that she would actually do that, because obviously you're seeing your son get the shit beat out of him. But natural. I mean, they're using all kinds of stuff, and yeah, we might as well just kind of like jump right into.
I told you this is because when you
Yeah.
get to, when the episode just devolves into a smackdown, I mean, there really just isn't that much to like intellectually discuss. I was even
Exactly.
thinking about that as I was watching the episode. I was like, oh yeah, this is gonna be just like Monkey Fun. It's just gonna be us saying, and they fight.
Yeah. So, and then okay, so let's start it right here. When the line about being worthy to his father, and then that
Which is an important. I felt
it
like
is.
that line kind of made me think. Yes, Clark. Remember, your dad's buried in rubble back there. It's almost like he forgot his dad was buried in rubble because he was too
Yeah,
busy like fighting the alien.
getting his ass kicked, and maybe
I
that
know, right?
knocked it right out of him. So,
Father.
And listen to that score. The
Right.
snare drums are really going with the orchestra.
Yeah, it is. Just Hulk Loki'd him, and then he does like a
that's
little bit of
right.
like a little Neo right here, a little Neo Matrix level blocking.
Except it's really slow.
Yes. I love the drums with the freaking thing. So great.
So it's so funny. When he did this, I thought he threw him into space.
So did I. I totally
Okay.
forgot about the ending too. I was like, okay, he threw him into space, makes sense. And then of course there's Jonathan.
He's been sitting on that rebel this entire time.
That's gonna be sore tomorrow.
Is this my Father's Day present?
Yeah, it's like, oh yeah, it is Father's Day.
Honestly, Jonathan, you've got more nerve than sense. You tried to stand up to that big brute all by
You tell him,
himself.
Martha.
Speaking of whom,
Yeah.
And
mean,
this
we
is when
must-
I go,
No matter how many times
Yeah.
I see that, I'll never get used to it.
me neither.
See, now Lois is starting to be like, huh?
ah!
Why do you guys keep on saying weird shit? Like, put it together, Lois. Put it together. And then, yeah, we might as well just watch this part because it's just
this is kind of the best part of the episode.
It really is.
Why lie?
Exactly. So, and you're like, uh-oh.
Anytime a boom tube shows up, you should just be like,
Yeah.
shit's getting real.
Yes. Oh, that shadow. That shadow of him, like, showing up right there. That's cool.
I always love like standing in the tube and you're
Uh-huh.
kind of just floating in the middle of the air.
Mhm. His arms behind his back.
Oh yeah.
And did you
And
Did you?
underestimated his strength? But he won't catch me off guard again. That much, at least, is true. Please, Father!
Yep.
Yeah.
Father!
When I'm done with you.
That's when you go, son, you done fucked up.
Yeah, exactly.
What have you done to him?
And here we get the face off.
I asked you a question. Who
I
are
just
you?
love how Darkseid's like,
Not even phased.
Answer me.
But he knows that it's not ready. I'm not ready to, maybe not yet, but we'll see.
now's not the time.
Yeah, let me try something here. Let's see what happens. Oh, he's a little strong.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, he winced a little bit. Yeah, he had struggled with that a little bit there.
That is who I am. And when the time comes, you and this primitive planet will swear allegiance to Darkseid.
Dun, dun,
Or you'll
dun.
be destroyed.
I'll be destroyed. Oh, yeah. Darkseid out.
He's like, what the fuck? And then, of course, yep, they're watching. Where's the camera? Who knows?
Right, Darkseid. I do not understand. Why did you let Superman live?
Superman cannot be destroyed with one stroke.
Get on your throne.
And will be done.
You sacrificed your Kaliback?
You almost said son.
How many will there be before you destroy Superman and conquer the Earth?
As many as it takes.
Ooh, goosebumps.
You know,
Goosebumps.
and it's so cool. Last week we talked about how Ghost in the Machine was such a it gets retconned into being such an important episode in the universe,
Mhm.
because of what it sets up. But I love how Darkseid ultimately is the big bad guy of the DC animated universe. Like the fight between Superman and Darkseid literally lasts until the final episode of the universe. and I just love, so when we watch that scene where Superman and Darkseid meet for the first time, it's like this has implication for years to
Mhm.
come
Yeah.
as far as this universe is concerned. And it's just it's crazy to think about that.
I know this is the first. Yeah, it gets built up pretty good, but yeah, I mean, it's a good episode. It's a good episode. There's some cheesy stuff in here, and maybe some things that that we could agree that could have been a little bit better. But overall, it's just like one of those where it's like Superman's taking on. It's a big street fight that he has to take. We get the dark side stuff, so and like I said, it sets things up for the future. So it's an important episode for sure.
Yeah. I mean, the dark side stuff is just my favorite stuff in the episode. It's the best stuff in the episode.
Of course. There. What do we got next week?
It's you probably won't know it. It's just it's an obscure little episode.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. It's called World's Finest Part 1.
I actually saw because when I was scrolling through.
Oh fuck! Oh come on!
I know. I let you play your little like thing right there, but I didn't mean to because usually I don't. But I was like, where am I? Where are we at? Because sometimes the thumbnails don't look like that.
Oh no, that thumbnail tells you everything you need to know.
So all of a sudden I look over and I'm like, I see Joker and Lex Luthor, and I'm like, oh shit. I'm like, there it is. Oh yes,
we got 3 weeks that are going to be lots of fun.
We got a crossover happening, folks. So it's gonna be great. We got our first. There's our first Batman and Superman crossover, man.
It is. It is. But it is. And for technicality's sake, all 3 episodes are technically episodes of Superman the Animated Series.
Yeah, they're not part of Batman.
No.
So this is exciting. So we're gonna have it's 3 parts, right?
It's a 3-parter. Yeah.
Oh, of course it is. I love it. Oh, it's gonna be great. So there you go, folks. Next Thursday, we start off World's Finest Part 1 in a 3-part saga. Cannot wait. So watch that and come back and spend some time with us, or just listen to us in your own convenience. So
I know Spotify and where else can they listen?
Apple Podcasts, Google, and Amazon.
Oh, sweet. Yeah. All the places
that you can listen. So there you go. All right, send us off.
Well, of course, I'm Scott. You can find me on Twitter at ScottDC27, on Instagram at McMerlin, and on Vero at Scott McClellan. You can find my podcast, the DC Squadcast, wherever podcasts can be found. We're on Vero, Facebook, YouTube, with the entire network of shows at squadcastmedia.com.
There it is. All right, guys. We'll see you tomorrow on the Vodka stream. We'll have lots to talk about, of course. That's at, of course, 7 p.m. Pacific time. So grab a drink and we'll have some fun. All right. Hit that like, thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, do all that. We will talk to you later.